Okay, so we're back with another episode. Last time we looked at just writing a little bit of HTML code, and I want to get more into that this time. So, HTML is based on tags. So, we'll look at the code we wrote last time, but if you go in here and you can look, we're back in our virtual machine. If you look, you see that this hello world is wrapped in what's called a tag. In this case, it's the h1 tag. So there is a link with all the various tags that you can write in HTML, which I will post in the notes. But we're just going to go through some of them today and kind of experiment and see what they do. So let's jump into our virtual machine here, and we'll get started. So the very first thing you're going to want to do when you have an HTML document is you're going to want to tell anything that's loading it that it's an HTML document. So you do this by putting the HTML tag at the very top. Another thing is you're going to want to make sure all your tags that you open are actually closed. So the very last tag in our document is going to be this closing HTML tag, which is /HTML. That's a format that's very common in HTML, and it's good to get used to. So in any HTML document, you have the head and the body. So anything inside these two HTML tags we're going to want to indent just to make it a little bit easier to read. So like I was saying, we have the head section. And again, you're going to want at the same indentation level to close your head section. Now in here is where you can specify your styles and some of your other things that you need to include, which we don't have any of those right now. But the one thing you can do in here is you can set a title for your page. Again, make sure to close your tag. So then if you save this and you go to your browser and look at it, you'll see that the hello world now is gone, but up here in the title bar of the browser, we have our title that we just put in the head section. So that's kind of cool. We're already kind of getting started with this. So now that we have all that stuff set up, we're going to move on to the body section of the page. This is where you actually put the main code of your website, the code that you want people to be able to view. So let's just start messing around with some tags. If we want, let's say we want a really bold headline to kind of start out the page. This is what we saw earlier with our h1 tag. Again, remember to close it. And if you're looking at the reference, actually let's pull it up here. So here's the reference page that's linked in the notes. And you can see that there are all of these various H tags. So here we have H1, H2, H3, H4, H5, and H6. So if we want to find out about one of these, let's say we want to find out what the H1 tag actually does, you can click on it, and it will take you to a page that explains it. So these heading tags implement 6 levels. H1 is the most important, and H6 is the least. So it kind of gives you an explanation of what it does. It gives you some code samples, and it gives you the results of these code samples. So as you can see, the H1 tag is the biggest font, and it's the most prominent, and as it goes down all the way to H6, they get smaller and smaller. Right? So we can do a similar thing here. Or we can just use all these tags, and we can verify for ourselves that this is how these tags actually display. Oh, looks like I missed a closing bracket there. And the nice thing about using something like Sublime is you notice that when it wasn't properly closed, it was highlighting weirdly. So that's a good indication that something is up. So that's kind of nice. It helps you kind of check your code that way. Okay, so now we've got all our headlines in. We'll save it and we will refresh it in our browser. And there you go. So here's all the various headline levels, and it kind of shows you just how you can make different headlines. So that's one kind of group of tags. Now, if you want to say, let's just stick with heading 1 for now. But if we want to put some text below this, we can use the paragraph element. So we go back to our reference and we'll look here under the paragraph element. And we'll see, okay, the paragraph element represents a paragraph of text. So then you can kind of go down here for an example and look how to use it. And it groups these things nicely into paragraphs. So we can just make a paragraph of our own. We can say, here's a paragraph, and again, remember to write your closing tag. Okay, so let's save that and look at how it displays in the browser. So again, we'll click back over to our page, and there we go. We see that the paragraph is underneath the headline, and that it displays that text for us. So that's nice. So that's some things you can do with text. Once you have some text, maybe you say, okay, well, I want to be able to show people links to other pages. So the way to do that is with an A tag. So we're going to put some text in here that says, check out this cool website called Google. Okay, and we'll save that. And so what we're going to do is we're going to want to make the word Google a hyperlink that actually links to google.com. So let's go back into our reference. The A tag is the tag we're going to be using. So we click it and pull it up, and it says the A element, or HTML anchor element, defines a hyperlink. The name target, destination for a hyperlink, or both. So let's go down. Let's just look at how this is actually implemented. Some of this other stuff talks about compatibility things and different things you can do with it. But if we just want a simple hyperlink, let's go look for some sample code. So here we go. Here's an anchor linking to an external location. So it looks like we have to have our A tag, and it has to have this href attribute, and then the address of the page we want to link to. And any text that we want to be inside the link has to be in between the opening and closing A tags. So that seems easy enough. So if we want to wrap Google in a link, we just have to go A href equals, and then put in the URL for Google. And then close that opening tag. And then here, now it's your choice whether you want to include the period in the link or not, but we'll just do it here for now. And then we just close our A tag, hit save, and let's look at it in the browser. So we go back to the browser, and there we go. You can see the default style is blue and underlined, like many links you've probably seen. And if you click on it, there you go. It takes you right there to Google. So that's how you implement hyperlinks on your page. That's another cool thing you want to do. Now, text is great, but what if we want to put an image on our page? Let's see how we can do that. So let's go back to our reference, and let's look at image. So here's what it says. It represents an image of the document. All these different attributes you can put on it, which we can look into later. But right now we just want to see kind of how this works. So this is important. These are the different image formats you can use to link images. So let's look at this. Example 1, it says we have our image tag and we specify a source. So this is where the image is located. So, for example, if you have an image that's on your same like in the same folder as your HTML document, you can just have image source equals image.jpg, something like that. So that just says, okay, in this same folder, look for a file called image.jpg and put it in here. So because we don't have any images like that, we need the full link to the image. So here's one. Here's the MDN logo. So let's just link that. So we can pull this over here. And we'll just say, okay, we want to be able to do that. So instead of a local source like this, we're going to say, okay, we want the source to be okay. And then you will probably be able to see here they have this alt attribute as well. So the alt attribute is text that displays either when you hover over the image, or for browsers that can't display images for whatever reason, the alt text will display there instead. So it's good to have an alt attribute for all your images. So let's go ahead and do the same thing that they do. We'll just call it MD logo. Okay, so now if we haven't made any typos, copy and paste would probably be a good idea here as well. We can go back to Firefox and look and see. We'll refresh the page, and there we go. There's our image. So these are just all really basic elements that you can include on your page, and it's a good idea just to kind of look through this reference and see the various things that you can do. We'll be getting into more detail with these when we start building we're going to put our resume online, starting with our very next episode. So stay tuned for that. Until next time, you know where to find me if you have any questions, and happy coding.